Billy, I actually wanted to start with the ejection. By rule, you can't hit a official with a ball. You didn't look like you argued much, but it also looked pretty inadvertent by Kevin. You just got swatted at it. What did Tony say to you?
Yeah, he just felt like his intention was to smack the ball at the official. When he ejected him to begin with, he came over to me and said, I want to make sure, because obviously I'm taking a player off the floor. I'm going to go review it. I didn't really see the review. He did. I got to trust the official that he's looking at the review and he's going off the review. So I appreciate him at least doing that. But he said the intent was to hit the ball at the ref. And again, I'll take a look at it, but that was his interpretation, and you got to trust the official if they're going to go and review it.
Got it. And then did you get any kind of updates on Modest, or Isaac, or Dalen?
I haven't heard anything yet, any of those guys about availability tomorrow, where they're at. I'll probably go back in there. They were back there with medical, so they'll end up probably meeting with me after this and kind of fill me in. But right now, I don't have information on any of those guys.
So a night like tonight's disappointing on any night, but given the 38 second chance points on Portland, is it more deflating to have a follow up effort like this from a physicality standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, I think our ability to guard the basketball, and then some of the rebounding stuff. We've got to get better in those areas. I mean, they're loud, and we've got to improve. And we have to, I think, watch some of this tomorrow before we get ready to play Washington. But we got another game coming tomorrow, and we're going to have to be able to move forward and do those things at a higher level than we did them tonight.
Really, do you feel like there's anything specifically about how Miami approaches these, whether it's an NBA Cup game or playing a tournament game? Do you feel like there's anything that kind of leads to just the way that you guys keep kind of running into that wall of not being able to beat them in kind of must-win situations?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I don't know that. They've been very very good team. I mean, that's all I can say is they've been a very good team. To me, I enjoy competing against them because they compete really really well, and I think they have a standard of play, and I think Spo does a great job with his group. So I enjoy competing against them because I think you find out more about your team doing that. Um, we obviously had some success in the regular season last year, and certainly in the play and elimination games. They've. I want to say that every time we've played them, they've advanced and we haven't. So, um, give them credit, and that's all I would say.
What's sticks out to you the way they defend you, what their team does, to the things you're trying to do?
Well, I think the one was the free throws tonight. Certainly played a huge factor in that. They went to the free throw line 44 times, so it was kind of what ended up happening in the fourth quarter against Portland the other night. You're dealing with offensive rebounds and you're dealing with 44 free throws. It's hard to even generate any transition points.
I mean, I kind of mean the way, where they'll cut off the basket, the way they close out on the threes, their activity, when you switch, they'll help on, Boots trying to roll. The things that they do, do you think that, has a big effect, and how good are they at those things?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they have the flexibility with Bam to do a lot of different things. Quite honestly, last year they guarded Bam with Josh Giddey, was on him. Today they didn't do that, so they've got a lot of flexibility with their 5 man to be able to do that stuff. They hadn't played big much this year up to this point in time, but they did last year a lot, and they started that way tonight. And I think the biggest thing is, to me, when you're playing against them, you've got to be able to get stops defensively, and you've got to be able to get out in transition. And if you look at it, it really got flipped in terms of we didn't get a lot of stops, and it put them in transition way more than we were because we were either at the free throw line or taking the ball to the net, in those situations on drives. I think that from a one-on-one defensive standpoint, they have the ability to keep the ball in front of them. And I think tonight that was the difference. We couldn't keep the ball in front of us.
Well, it also seemed in that when they started getting some separation in the second quarter there, your guys, reverted to more isolation.
Mm-hmm.
Guys trying to take it on themselves. Was that just, those guys trying to make up for what happened, or did they force you into that? How did,
I think that I've said this before, we don't have the luxury not to play, in terms of making the game easy for each other. When we get into that, we're just not built like that, and I think, that's the way Miami plays. They beat you off the dribble. They can play off the dribble. That's not us. You know, we need each other. We need screening action. We need ball movement. We need player movement. You know, and we've got to be able to sustain that. I thought like the other night in Portland, we did it really, really well for, 3 quarters and about, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and then all of a sudden we got back into that, and we've got to be better there. But yeah, I mean, it was a game where I think in every facet, all the way around all of us, it wasn't like we didn't know what we were walking into. I think we all understood that.
Billy, you mentioned the free throw discrepancy a little bit. Do you kind of attribute that more to their craftiness and their ability to draw fouls, or something that you had an issue with the way that your guys were defending them?
I think a combination of both. A couple of times we got caught leaving our feet. We fouled jump shooters a few times. They're physical drivers, very physical. I thought at times we got out of position and fouled, maybe even reaching down or jumping and trying to contest a shot, and them lifting us and then, generating and creating contact.
Thank you.
Thanks, Billy.
Okay, thank you.